Hello and welcome to Marycast. This is Dr. Mark Mirvalli. My friends, I have a very simple question for you today. Do you believe that you are a co-redeemer? Now, I'm presupposing Christianity with this question. I'm presupposing that you believe you're in the state of grace. But with those two elements satisfied, the question remains, do you consider yourself a co-redeemer? Well, to answer that, let's define our terms. Co means with, and redemption refers to Jesus Christ, his historic act of obtaining the graces of salvation. Technically, to be a co-redeemer means that in some way you help Jesus save souls. In some way you have either introduced people to Jesus, or you intercede to Jesus for people, or you offer your sufferings for Jesus for the salvation of the world. All of these are acts of co-redemption, or specifically you being a co-redeemer. Now, let's break this down a little bit more. This is so important because every Christian has the dignity and the mission to be a co-redeemer, to help other people make it to heaven, to save souls with Jesus. That's all being a co-redeemer means in its fullest concept. So let's go back to Calvary for a moment. Jesus redeems the world. This is the basic understanding and belief of every Christian. That on Calvary, Jesus pays the price to ransom humanity from Satan. Well, how does humanity get under Satan's rule? Through original sin. Adam and Eve commit a sin which loses grace for the human family. Now, if we want to be very technical, Adam, as St. Paul says, is the father of the race. But Eve is instrumental in Adam rejecting the glory of God and the will of God and sinning. Now, this is God's great victory. God the Father says, to show you my majesty, I will use the same three elements that led to the loss of grace in the restoration of grace. A man, a woman, and a tree. So we have Adam and Eve and the tree, the apple which leads to the loss of grace, because it's a willed act against God's perfect will, God's loving will, and God's protective will. And so God the Father says, I will use a man, a woman, and a tree for salvation. The man will be Jesus Christ, the new Adam. A man who is a God-man. He's got a divine nature and he has a human nature in one divine person, so that when he dies on the cross, he exclusively has the ability of reconciling God and humanity, because he represents both. And he has the ability of offering just compensation for an infinitude of sin. That's our sin. That's human sin. Your sin is rated according to whom you offend. When you offend an infinite being, it becomes an infinite sin, and therefore you need an infinite redeemer, an infinite person to buy you back. That's Jesus Christ. So what Jesus does on Calvary is he buys us back. Now, St. Paul calls Jesus the new Adam. God said, I so honor and dignify woman that I want a woman involved in the restoration of grace for the human family, just as a woman was involved with the loss of grace for the human family. And so I choose Mary, and I make Mary free from sin, just as my first Eve was free from sin. I give Mary a free choice, and I allow her to cooperate with the new Adam. That's why the church calls her the new Eve, the second Eve.